This video is going to show you solo GM getting platinum rank. Just a kind of reminder to people, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, as it's super critical to the success of the channel. Appreciate it, thank you. So, moving on. The image you'll see on the screen is all the top searches that you, the viewer, are searching for in accordance to my channel and where I sit with it. So in other words, this image is showing you what YouTube's telling me that I need to make topics about. Okay? Now, I don't generally use these comments, but I'm going to start doing them because I saw a pattern forming with these comments. Let's see if you can see them. It says this: Destiny 2 best PvE Warlock build. Best Void Warlock build Destiny 2. Best Solo Hunter build Destiny 2. Destiny 2 best Titan build PvE. Destiny 2 best Warlock Grandmaster build. Best PvP Warlock build. That's because of Iron Banner. Best Warlock PvP Pinnacle build, Iron Banner again. Grandmaster Nightfall Destiny 2 guide. That's understandable. Best Solo Warlock build Destiny 2. That's interesting. I'll have videos about that coming in the future. Destiny 2 meta hunter build PvE, that's understandable because hunters are in disarray on what meta is for hunters. Volatile hunter build Destiny 2 and best warlock build for Nightfall Destiny 2. So you see all these top comments. What are you seeing overwhelmingly? You're seeing that people want a Grandmaster Nightfall guide about a warlock, whether it be Void or Solar. Now I'm not going to do Solar because it's not Solar Surge. We're going to do Void, right? Because it's Void Surge, and that, folks, is exactly why you, the viewer, are searching for Void builds, even on Hunter, because you want to play to the Surge. Now, I don't need to tell you how important or not important a Surge is. To you, the viewer, it's everything. It is the cradle of life. Whatever Surge you are on, you must build into the Surge. I think it's a OCD thing that people have. They must build into a Surge, even though the Surges aren't make or break. To people, they are. So I'm going to treat them as make or break as well, because you, the viewer, think of it like that, and I can't change your opinion on that. I've tried to, so I'm just going to go with what you're saying. All right, Void Surge this week is make or break. Here we go. We have to run Void Surge, so I'm going to give you a build. Here we go. So we got Nova Warp, Healing Rift, Vortex Grenade, Aspects were Feed the Void, Chaos Accelerant, Fragments was Echo of Undermining, Obscurity, Starvation, Remnants. We used Nova Warp rather than Nova Bomb, and that's critical to the run, and I'll explain why we ran that when it's in the run. We ran Randy's Throwing Knife, The Recluse, Grand Overture, because we are going to play into the Oscillation modifier this time, because the overwhelming comments I've seen this week are people wanting other people to run weapons to the Oscillation mod rather than against it. I've showed you how to work against it. I've showed you the Legend of Acreus strat with Oscillation. I've showed you the Fourth Horseman strat. I've showed you how to work to the mod or against it. But overwhelmingly, most people want a run where you work with the mod, not against it. And that's why we're running double primary, Scout, and an SMG. But Grand Overture is the exception, but Grand Overture is its own thing and is not affected by Oscillation like you would think anyways. We're using this build with Controverse Hold, so we're going old school with this setup, with Void Nades. The mods are on screen. I'll give you a dim link. Just note, I ran the wrong resistances in this. I've only just realised now. You should be running double solar resist or a solar runner arc at least. I forgot about that, but it didn't affect my run, but it might affect other people's runs. That was the setup that we used. So as we start this opening area, we want to get a Vortex Grenade down and weaken some of the enemies, because obviously we've got Echo of Undermining on. We do not have a GL on, which I would love to run. I would actually prefer to have run Velocity Baton and a Kinetic Tremor Scout, but as I've said at the start of the video, overwhelmingly most of you want people to play Oscillation as it's intended, so we put an SMG on for that, and the SMG done alright. Now I've got a few Recluse rolls. I just figured I wanted to use Recluse. I was in a Recluse mood, and I'm using a Surrounded one, and it is good at certain stages, but obviously when we haven't got Surrounded procced, which can be sometimes, it's not as good. But it did the job for exactly what I wanted it to, which was just to make my Scout OP. Now I'm using Randy's, which is not the God roll. It's Good Shot Straight and Kinetic Tremors, and people keep having a go at me about it and about to use it. Well, hey, I can't get it because of the RNG pool. I have handed in 40 Crucible engrams this week, and I have not got one Good Shot Straight kinetic tremor roll yet. So you know what? You're gonna have to put up with it. Put up with me not having that roll, and I have to put up with it as well. It's annoying. It's annoying as hell because I know how good that scout will be with good shot straight. It is what it is. We're just going to use this one. It's got kinetic tremors at the very least, and it is good. It's not that you need good shot straight. It's just that it'll do more things for you. It's just a damage buff, and it stacks. So we take out the Thresher ship with Grand Overture. That's exactly why we've got it on. We've also got it on for Unstoppables because we can blind with it. Now he's our first super. This is our first choice of super. This is why we've got Nova Warp on, and this is why we are not using Nova Bomb. In GMs, generally speaking, Nova Warp is better than Nova Bomb. I'm being absolutely honest. I think you don't believe me when I say it, but it absolutely is. I know what. Do you know why I know? Because I've already tested it. Tested it. You don't get nowhere near as many supers as Nova Warp, and with the damage resistance and the ag clear potential that Roman supers offer, because we're getting them that more frequently, and it does speed up the GM if we've got a super more often, then Nova Warp's a better choice. It's kind of crazy. And I know Nova Warp's not as good as we would hope, but it was better than when I ran it on Birthplace because there was no Void Surge up, I believe, that week. It was a different Surge. But yeah, the Nova Warp's actually doing pretty decent damage. Try to use it as an ad clear style super, not so much on champs. Basically, my controverse whole build is going to be the champ deal damage side of things. Plus, we're going to oscillate between, obviously because of the mod, between SMG and the scout rifle. Okay, now it's pretty good. I must admit, when you get times 3 on a kinetic tremor scout, it does melt a champ pretty fast. Now the next super that we want is right here. Now we're going to turn around here and backtrack a little bit because it'll be a bane, could be a drain, could be a shock. But we want to backtrack, because we don't want to deal with those until we get our super. We don't quite have our super yet because I melted the champ down too quickly and should have waited a little bit longer because intellect is based via damage that you deal to champs really, because champs and VIPs at least. But that's fine. We've just got our super. We get a nade on this bane. We're going to pop super, and this will clear out all dogs, and it will clear out the annoying phalanx. This is a good way of doing it on Nova Warp if you're going to. Like I've said, there's people searching like crazy for Void builds. Like, I've only just come to attention of this over the last 2 days about you searching Void builds. And I guess Hunter's the same. So at the start of the week, what I should have done is run a Graviton Forfeit build or an Orpheus Rig build or a Grafalcon build on Hunter. I think that would have been miles better than what I did where I ran an Arc build and none of you wanted the Arc build as much as a Void build. It's crazy to me because Arc's actually technically better on a Void Hunter. Technically. I think, for this. It would be much slower than a Void Hunter, trust me. Arc Hunter is far quicker than a Void Hunter, but you, the viewer, don't care about that. It's what you're searching. And that's what I'm trying to say is, going forward, I need to give you what you want, because my channel isn't really going anywhere still. It's slowly creeping places, and I have worked a lot. I have worked really hard over the last, a few weeks to months. But to really cook in this for Destiny 2 content creation, it's just part of it. We have to do what you want. You're the boss, basically. So I'll be paying attention more than usual to exactly what you're searching. So next week, Stasis Search. So I'm prompting you right now. Get your searches up on what Stasis stuff you want. I'll play anything. I won't condemn anything. I know what's good and what isn't, and I know what the meta is truly, but I can play without meta. You know exactly the situation with me. I can play with meta, without meta. I can show you things that are meta, but you don't know about it. I can literally play anything. It doesn't matter to me. It matters to you, though, obviously, because I can understand if you're trying to search a build up and somebody's not telling you what that is, or you want to cook with a build, then you're losing out because your time's wasted by someone else, and I don't like that either. So I want to give you it in such a way so that your time's not wasted, and that we're truthful about a build. So, for example, this run, all right, this run was good. It was decent, plenty of supers, but this would have been better on other things. Just being honest, but you can make it work. Now we're going to get a dunk here and then go right into Nova Warp because we want to use them. We want to use them. The Fresh is going to spawn in, but we don't care about that. We can out-tank a Fresher whilst in Super. What happened there? Did you see all the ads backtracked? I wasn't accounting for that. I was wanting to kill more of them, but they backtracked, so I had to teleport away. That is one good thing about Nova Warp, is that we can port away rather quickly, because as you come out of your teleport after your super ends, you get a momentum boost, right? So you can get round corners rather quick with it. So Fresh is now pushed over the way to the right side. That's fine. We're going to use Grand Overture to quickly take out the Fresher. That's why we've got it on. So Grand Overture's bypass and oscillation, I think it's bugged. I haven't tested this, but to be honest with you, Grand Overture shouldn't be doing this amount of damage that it is doing. Either that, or it just does that much damage that it just overcompensates it anyways. But the amount of damage it's doing per shot seems to be how it should be if the GM didn't have oscillation on, if I'm being honest. So what I'm trying to explain to you is, I think machine guns are bugged in this, because I was using the Hammerhead at the start of the week and that was cooking way more than what it should. So I think oscillation's bugged for certain weapon types, and I think machine guns... You're probably hearing this too late because the week's over and you're not going to have oscillation next week. You're going to have haste, which is a completely different modifier. But I'm just saying, this is kind of weird. I ran a Grand Overture run the other day, so it's not like I've just discovered this today. Okay, I've knew a few days that Grand Overture cooks in this. But I'm just saying more thoughts. I think after playing with it last 2-3 days on some runs, there's something going on with Grand O that it's doing way more damage than what it should. Because oscillation nerfs all weapon types, if you didn't know. It doesn't just nerf SMGs, it nerfs all weapons. So you try and use a rocket launcher in here, your rocket launcher is very poor. Do not use rockets. Dragon's Breath, whilst it's still decent with the ignition damage, it bypasses it a little bit, but you're still getting far less damage than what you would anticipate with Dragon's Breath, so I don't recommend that either. If you want to oscillate between a Scout and an SMG, I recommend just a Legendary Scout with Kinetic Tremors and a Legendary SMG. You don't need to go using, like, people have been saying, use Huckleberry, use Manticore, use all these all these different exotic SMGs. I would say that's fine, but there's no Overload champs. This is why people didn't like the mod in the first place. Why is SMGs in this? There's no Overloads. If there was Overloads in Armsdale, then that's fair enough. We're putting an SMG on all day. It's melting Overloads, but there's no Overloads to test them out on. So this ends up messing up your build when you're solo, because you need an unstopped weapon in your heavy slot, and the only weapons that you have are Leviathan's Breath or Grand Overture, as far as I'm aware, in the heavy slot. And Grand Overture is far, far, far better than Leviathan's Breath. You know why I'm saying that? Because I ran Leviathan's Breath just before this run and it was terrible. I can't believe how bad it is. I don't know what's wrong with it. I guess because it's harshly affected by oscillation. That was the problem. Leviathan's Breath cooks. It does cook, but not on oscillation GMs. It takes about 6 shots to kill an unstop. That's too much. For Leviathan's Breath ammo, that's a third of its ammo capacity. Grand O has 67 ammo and can kill an unstop in 12-15 missiles if the target is debuffed. That is much, much, much better ammo capacity than than Leviathan. So even though Grand Overture does not have intrinsic unstop stun, it blinds them, so it kind of does. And you're going to be getting plenty of missiles. You just need to remember to proc your missiles and when you're coming up to an unstop. Like right now, I'm coming up to an unstop, so let's check. Missiles loaded at 8. We want 12 minimum, and that will kill an unstop. It will get them finishable. We've got 17 there. That's more than enough to melt. That's actually overkill on this unstop. So we'll get our volley ready. We're going to push, get a debuff, because we've got our nade build on them, of course. And we melt the unstop there. Then we've got a Bane, and we'll start to work towards our next. See, that's good as well. Not killing the unstop in one cycle is good, because it starts chain on your next missiles loaded for the next unstop. Because we haven't got an unstop weapon on, have we? Now, I could have put an unstopped weapon on, but yous lot want me to do oscillation, which requires an SMG. Unless I run a shotgun, energy-wise, but I didn't feel like doing that because once we incorporate a special weapon into a Grand Overture build, you will get less Grand Overture as a result. That is absolute fact. If you run primary special heavy, you will still get less heavy as a result. There is other factors now changing that though, because you can put ammo finders in your helmet and your gun. Nobody to my knowledge has tested how that interacts with each other yet. If somebody has, link the video down below. I'm interested, but I don't think anyone has. The last good tests I saw on ammo was Prelapse, and Prelapse he's not making content. Cheese Forever done a good one as well on the actual how ammo works in the game properly, how ammo finders work, how often does ammo bricks drop, and how and exactly why. Right, I'm talking in-depth information. I haven't seen anyone test the new ammo situation because you can put ammo finders in your guns. Did you not know about that? When you shape a gun with cores, you can put finders in. Now, when I've run that, I can't say I've noticed much of a difference. Maybe slightly, but not that much of a difference. Does it stack with the ammo finder on a helmet? How much of a difference does it make? Is it worth to do that? Do you know what I mean? And so on and so forth. But what I was going back to, if we was to run double primary like this, we'll get more Grand Overture ammo as a result. And that's dead important to the run, because that is our only gun that can stun and unstop. And there's no need to run a special shotgun, because we're not on a prismatic Titan build. So we're not looking to break shields and then do this and do that. We're just looking to play from distance and use our nade and play to the build strength, which is to debuff targets and have constant nades on them. A good uptime of nades. So we are getting this barrier weak. We use Grand Overture to take down the gun. That obviously speeds things up a little bit. This run is by no means quick, but this build is not a fast build neither. Is it? You, the viewer, search for void stuff. So here's your void stuff. I can't guarantee to you that it's going to be quick run. I can't guarantee to you that it's going to emulate what prismatic builds do. I have actually a community poll going on at the minute, so if you haven't seen it, go to my community tab on my channel and it will show you people voting on what we need to do about light classes versus prismatic, because it's now becoming a problem in the game. Like I said, where prismatic is overwhelmingly far stronger than light subclasses. Now, some people are selfish with it and some people aren't. Some people are saying, just let me use prismatic. I don't care about arc, solar and void and stasis and strand anymore. I just want prismatic. People are just wanting prismatic now, exclusively. It's almost like they've had a steak from a restaurant and they can't go back to home cooked food anymore. They've had the restaurant quality steak. They can't go back to single element classes. And seriously, people are just making prismatic. I would love to see the numbers on it. There will be numbers on it. Bungie will know. But what I'm saying to you, the viewer, this is no good, because you're not. What's the point in having arc, solar, void, strand, and stasis in the game? Then you may as well sunset all other classes and just have prismatic. And people are asking for that. People want all the fragments and aspects from strand, stasis, solar, arc, all in prismatic, so that prismatic has the entire build kit to itself. So basically, you got one class. I'm not a fan of that, and I understand why people are asking for this. I'm not a fan of that at all. I want them to buff light subclasses, and they need to do it by 2025 next year. It needs to happen, because if they don't buff it then, you're not going to get a buff again till 2026. I reckon. Not sizable, not where they start to make some new mechanics. I've suggested that they should do 2 light bars for a light subclass, so you have 2 super recharge rates if you run a light subclass, right? Whereas prismatic has 1, but it has transcendence that you can get within 30 seconds or less, sometimes 10. But what I'm trying to say is the upside would be that you could farm up 2 supers, right, when you're in a light class, and that would be the strength of it. I've also suggested that light subclasses should have transcendence, but a light version of it. You know, they could put a light spin on it that you get an aura around you. So say you're on arc, you get an arc aura. Everything that you do jolts everything. Or if you're on solar, you scorch everything with anything that you're using. So say for example you're using Grand Overture, you still scorch them because you've popped a transcendence on light. So you would have some unique interactions with a light version of transcendence with using guns that don't scorch. Do you see my ideas? So I've got ideas about it, but they ain't going to change none of this, what I'm saying to you, until next year. But in the meantime, us content creators have to put up with that stuff. We have to put up with, all right, well, you know, we have to, you know, if we want to do good things in the game, we need to use Prismatic. And, you know, I love Prismatic as well. I think it's fun. You know, I do think it's fun. I do think that it makes you think about stuff. I still think not all builds have been explored in Prismatic. I still think, you know, there's a lot going on with it. You know, but I'm just saying, like, look, there needs to be something like, because you may as well just agree with what they're saying, with what people are saying. Just sunset light classes then, and darkness. We don't need them. Just put them all on Prismatic, because that's another thought. Even if they do that, you could make a full stasis build on Prismatic anyways, because you would have all the aspects and you would have all the fragments. But here's another problem. The UI couldn't handle that. So that's another problem. So it's all right saying just do this, ship them to Prismatic. The UI could not cope with all those fragments on screen. I bet you it couldn't. We've had this problem in the future where people where the UI just can't handle stuff with mods and stuff. They overcome it, but you know, I'm just telling you that's an actual issue. We're going to use a Nova Warp here and use cover. This is actually a very good Nova Warp. You might not think it is a good super usage right here, but it actually is, because that has just prepped the entire room for me now. See, what you need to realize is when we melt the tank down, all the ads go to hide when the tank is dead because they're scared. I know I'm being comical about it, but that actually is true. The ads will back up to the back of the room, causing you to push up, spawning in a barrier and an unstop. You don't want to spawn in the barrier and unstop yet. You actually want to clear out all the gladiators and everything, right, as much as possible before you kill the tank. So if you can, which it's not too bad to do, try to clear out as many ads that are pushing you as possible while the tank is alive. The goal is really simple. Just don't stand for too long. You need to have a bit of movement about you. As long as you've got that, you're good. Now look at this stop. This is such a good stop. Now, do I need to say more about that? Look at how good that stun was from Grand Overture. Now look, the ads start to back up. Okay, once the tank starts to get weak, I mean, this gladiator was going to, but that's fine. This has just prepped the entire room. This is actually saving time. Even though we're not melting the tank down right away, it actually has saved time, because we've isolated this phase away from the barrier phase. It makes the tank section so much easier as a result. Now, taking out the snipers would be cool as well, but they keep going into cover, wasting my time. So we are just going to now melt the tank. We've debuffed the tank. Let's use some Recluse to do oscillation, because I want to see what the kinetic tremor damage is once we get ×3 buff. So here we go on that. So we need a ×3 DK on Recluse. We then swap to our Scout Rifle, and then it melts the tank. So, and now we can take out the remaining Scions, the snipers, and that will empty the tank room. That will make things easier for us, right? Because when we do push up, we can isolate the barrier and melt him. Then we can isolate the unstop with the legionaries. Simplifies the room. If there was a Bane gladiator up, it would be more difficult because he goes to the back of the room. He wants to hug the unstop, you know, etc. I'm just saying that we've tactically got round all of that, because this subclass is a slow one. It's a decent run, this, of a build, because you know it's decent, but it's not a fast run like what Prismatic would be, or dare I say Arc Hunter. Arc Hunter's very quick in this run. I think people undervalue it even still now, but I'm not people, I'm me. If you think Arc Hunter's not that good, you think it. And sometimes you can't change people's opinions. They will still think that. I'm talking specifically Raiden Flux. I'm not talking Shinobu's Vow. I'm not talking about stuff like that. I'm talking about Raiden Flux exclusively. But I think Hunter mains are stubborn and they still won't go on that build. That's fine. We'll cater to you as we go forth with what you comment about. If you exclusively want a stasis build, I'll do it. If you want that, we'll do it. But it all depends what you search. It all depends on what you search. So it's not just, we're not just talking about one guy who comments saying, I think this or I think that. It's collectively, as a hive mind, all of you, what the common traits are, what you think. That's what I'm more interested in now and need to be to try and make something out of this. I need to be interested in common ideologies, like what you're thinking about. So I need to be more like you. I need to think like the viewer, not like me. Not for everything, because I'm not going to do that for everything, but I'm going to do it for quite a lot of stuff. So we got a nade, killed all the dogs. We got our nade back because of Recluse's origin perk and Devour. We got our nade back so quick. We're going to use a super here. It's actually worth the super, because we'll get our super back. We'll get our super back anyways when we deal damage to the Tormentor, and we're not using it on the Tormentor because he would suppress us anyways. So being able to kill all the legionaries as they come out is handy. So it's an actual good tactical super in this, right? I know we haven't done immense damage to the Tormentor. We haven't done any of that. We can't. Nova Warp's weakness is Tormentors. I think that's one reason why it doesn't get used in endgame. Voidwalker mains use Nova Bomb, a lot of you. But I think in GM environment, Nova Warp's far better than Nova Bomb, because Nova Bomb doesn't charge nowhere near enough. And when you do fire it, it just about kills a champ, and that's all it does. If you fire a Nova Bomb at adds, how many adds are you realistically going to kill? Your nade will do that for you. So I think Voidwalker mains need to look a little bit more at what you're doing and look at doing Nova Warp instead. Nova Warp's putting out enough damage when Void Surge is up. When Void Surge is not up, it does make a bit of a difference with the super, and it's not quite as good, and I admit that. But when Void Surge is up, it does all the damage that you could ever want in a solo GM, providing that you're high-ish in power, at least above 2020. As long as you're above 2020, you're good. Once you get below that power level, then you need to run Song of Flame, don't you? Really, that is the absolute meta super. Yes, it doesn't charge as fast as a Roman one, but when you do use it, it sure as hell is very impactful. But again, that's not what this video is about. I guess that you did search for a solo Warlock build, so if that's still a common search, I'm suspicious that means full solar, not prismatic, because you can run a solar build on prismatic, but that's not what you're searching. You're searching best solar. That would indicate that you're looking at solar builds, like as in the full single element, not prismatic builds, and there's a difference there. We're going to get a debuff on this guy. The bait there was exact, and then we're going to blind him. We blind him with Grandor, and then we're going to do some more damage and go for a second blind, right? To keep the blind going, because blind and once you blind, you can blind a target again back to back. There's no cooldown with it, sort of thing. And it just meant that, look at all the damage I got there. That's good damage that we did, right? Now I'm trying to fight the balance between using Grandor damage and how much I should use right now, because I'm down to 37, which is healthy. But I can soon chew through it, and I don't want to limit myself too much, because once I've done with this room, I'm running past. I'm not looking for ammo too much, right? So we want to get this Tormentor finishable. Now I notice he was idle because of Overload SMG. We are actually debuffing him with Overload. So look at this. We've got Overload SMG on. The Tormentor now is idle. Look at that. So that is a use case showing you an example of, even if you're not using a gun mod that matches a GM for champs, it's still sometimes useful to run an overload weapon in a non-overload GM, right? As long as you've got something to stun barriers and unstops, though, which we do in this case. We have. Grandor's very consistent at that. at unstops. And obviously kinetic tremors is very consistent with barriers. Like even if we've got decay, it doesn't matter. We are still taking down that shield, no problem. So we use the missiles, and then we want to get an invis finisher here. I've done that on purpose because I don't want to clear out any of these ads. We want to keep the run consistent enough so that it's not too long of a run. We do that by just melting what we need to, the Tormentor, the Unstop, and then we go. So ammo wise, we're good. So look at how consistent it is. Double primary, heavy, right? I think oscillation is a good example of where people are willing to use double primary, as opposed to in the past they would never use it. Obviously, like some of the old solo GM guys like Esoteric and me back in 2017, and some other content creators that now no longer play, we had to use double primary. It was part of the strategy. You had to. It was mandatory. But we didn't care. It was just part of the challenge. We had to do it. Whereas with oscillation, people actually want to use double primary because of the ×3 buff. So oscillation's good. They just need to expand the weapon list. It's a bit too tight on the weapon list. But oscillation's not bad at all. So look at what's happened here is the unstop and barrier has pushed me, which that sometimes happens. The trigger is simple. If you push into the room really quick, the barrier will TP. That is the trigger. It's not meant to happen, by the way. It's an undetermined thing. The barrier is not meant to TP. He does because you've went fast into the room. If I was to play idle, the barrier would not TP ever. So for fire team, I've had that comment a few times this week about the barriers teleporting. The actual trigger is going into the room quick. I have tested it. This is exact. Okay? Because did you notice I pushed in there right away, and that's how it happens. It won't happen any other way with the barrier. Now these ads backed up, I didn't realise they were backing up so far like that, so my nade is wasted. That's unfortunate because it's a weakening grenade as well, and Controverse Hold relies on getting grenade energy back off damage ticks with the nade, so that's unfortunate. Controverse Hold performed perfect in this. It performed really well. I will be honest though, Controverse Hold is devalued because we can debuff enemies via GLs. So why would we need to use this build when we have GLs? Well, in general circumstances on a GM that's not oscillation, you wouldn't need to run Echo of Undermining. Why would you need to? It's a -20 discipline stat, which is going to screw a lot of Warlocks up with discipline. I can get by because I've got very, very good stat rolls on my Warlock. Always have done for years. So I can get by with it and still run a good tier 9 discipline with tier 8 recurve and tier 10 resil, which is good because we're using Echo of Undermining. Like I say, that limits your nade energy, -20. So if you are allowed to run a GL, don't run Echo of Undermining. There's no need to run it because you can debuff with that. So you can throw your nade, then debuff with the GL. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So this barrier, we're going to take him because he's the one that's pushing. I didn't get a reload quick enough there, so the barrier nearly regen, but that's fine. We're going to get our nade, finally got it back. And then just use it on the champ. Obviously he's weakened. I have not enhanced my Randys. So let's talk a bit about Randys a sec. So, like I said earlier, I had handed in a 30 to 40 engrams to try and get good shots straight and kinetic tremors on Randys, and I did not. So I figured I'll just use Randys anyways, but just the roll that I have. I have not enhanced it, because why would I? It's not the God roll. But the downside to that is that my kinetic tremors is not enhanced. I've been using Patron of Lost Causes, which has been enhanced, and I can see a massive difference between the two. Kinetic tremors is just not proccing as frequent per mag. But I do like Randy's because it's a faster fire rate than what Patron of Lost Causes is. It's a 200 RPM. So for scout advice, kinetic tremor wise, because I'm a bit of a specialist in kinetic tremors, use anything faster than a 180. Well, 180 is acceptable as well because Hung Jury melts. Let's not forget, Hung Jury actually does quite melt this season. So anything slower than Hung Jury is no good for kinetic tremors. It's absolutely no good. No, like Transfiguration has been nerfed. They've done something with high impact scar rifles in PvE, and they don't work that good. Now, if you remember, the viewers who have watched for a while, you remember I was the one, I showed you the transfig strat. I made a video about it. I made a couple of videos about it, and I was loving transfig when Zero Hour came out, when they remastered Zero Hour a few months ago. Well, when I started using transfig the start of this season, there was something wrong with it. It's not doing what it used to do. So there's something wrong with high impact scouts. I don't know. I can't be bothered to go and read the patch notes up on it. I bet neither can you. All you need to know is, look, the faster fire scouts are much, much better in PvE for kinetic tremors proc. It's procking it more frequent. They've got better reloads. I know transfig you don't need to reload that much, but it's a clunky gun. It's very clunky as opposed to what it used to be. And I should know because I was using it a ton, and now I'm not using it because it just feels clunky. It feels weird in PvE. So we're going to back all the way up to the turrets. We need to build up missiles loaded. I need 20. Now on the other strats, I didn't need 20, but I want to get 20 just in case, because we need to send that boss to a third. So you can still send the boss, but he's damageable. So we need to exceed a third damage, basically, to make sure that that boss goes immune. Because if he does not go immune, he's going to snipe me while ads are up. And that's no good. We could overcome it, but I want to be efficient about it and make sure he sends. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take out these turrets with the LMG. And then we're going to start to do chip damage to him. Then we'll debuff him. Then we'll do our missiles loaded. Because we don't want to use super for damage at all. What's the point? We need super for ad clear, not for damage. The role of the super is survivability and getting through ads. That's what the role of it is. And getting it up frequently. See, a Nova Bomb enthusiast would throw their Nova at the boss. But then what are you doing about the ads? See, on a solo, what are you going to do about that? Oh, I'll just use my nade and survive, maybe. See, that's the thing. You can use your Roman. You can use supers in different ways. But I will be honest, like I say, because of the super recharge rate, it's far more worth your while as a player if you avoid Walker Main to use Nova Warp. You can use other exotics. You can use Nezarec Sin. You can use Briar Binds. You can use stuff like that, but don't use Nova, because unless you're doing dungeon DPS solo, you don't need Nova on. And let's be real, if you are doing dungeon DPS with a Nova, you're on Prismatic with Star Eater class item. And Void Walker does not have access to that, because the exotic class items do not work with Void. Obvious. So, who the hell's doing solo DPS with Void Walker? Nobody. You're only doing solo DPS with a Void Walker if you're on Prismatic. But that's because you picked Nova Bomb. So Void Walker mains should be using Nova Warp. I don't see why you wouldn't be using Nova Warp. It's strange to me if you are. I even tried the helmet. So they buffed the Armcraft Skull helmet with Nova Bomb, and that's... You can make it work. Maybe this GM's not good for it. I'll revisit it again, I suppose. You do get increased super on Devour Kill with Armcraft Skull. So there is a way to get Nova Bomb quickly. We have Bad Juju, but Bad Juju is not very good in endgame. That's the trouble with the gun. You know, I would much rather use Outbreak Perfected than Bad Juju, even though Bad Juju has its super thing. It doesn't hit enemies hard enough. That's the problem. It'll kill a red bar, but that's a bit about it. It won't do much else for you. Like, trust me, I've tested Bad Juju this week and week before. I tested it in Birthplace, wasn't very good, wasn't chunking, wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. Literally, Outbreak will do everything that Bad Juju will do, only slightly less super. And that's only slightly less, because the nanite damage does massive super intellect regain anyways. So there's no point in Bad Juju. It needs more of a buff. They've just buffed it. I'm telling you, they need to buff it again. It's not doing enough damage. It needs the Revision Zero buff. Revision Zero is a fantastic weapon. It's one of the best guns in the game. Seriously, it's really good. So we need to build our missiles up. We're going to get a finisher kill here because that gets us in Viz. So we can... Well, it didn't matter, I suppose. We were in Viz anyways. But we are going to wait for these ads before we dunk, so we're going to drop the orb. We're going to come round and fight from here because the VIP target will shoot arrows, which I didn't want. So in this case, I'm going to get a nade down, hopefully with proc devour. I don't think I did. So they've walked out of my nade. This is an example of how old school builds, if you don't do the lock and key mechanic to them. So with this build, it is get a nade kill, then get devour, then you can be happy. If that doesn't happen, your build is demolished for that 10 to 15 seconds. Whereas with prismatic, you miss a nade, big deal. You miss a melee, big deal. You've got another one at the back of it. You've got transcendence at the back of it. Oh, at the back of the transcendence, you've got a super. So you've got all these domino plan B effects, whereas with the light classes, we have no plan B effect. You miss your nade, you've lost loads of grenade energy, right? You know, or you miss a devour chain. You've got your melee, but the void melee needs a buff as well. It's rubbish. It makes targets volatile, yeah, but it doesn't do nowhere near the damage it should, the void melee. Why is the void melee doing no damage? Bungie's a fan of melee builds now. They've buffed melee builds massively. So why can we not build into a void walker with its melee aspect? Why can't it do massive damage and like half damage to a champ? They're in control of the sandbox. They could do anything they want to do. Anything is possible. They have control of the numbers. They can do anything. I think you need to understand that. So, I mean, I don't know why we can't just like build into any element we want to, and sort of upgrade fragments and increase potency of fragments via materials, and then really enhance what it means to buildcraft. If you think prismatic's buildcraft, and it's not. There's a few builds on prismatic that cook, and you apply some things. That's not buildcrafting. Buildcrafting's numbers. Buildcrafting is in enhancing things and getting percentages. So imagine being able to enhance a fragment, for example, like a scorch fragment, where you can enhance its power by a percentage and start to go that route with buildcrafting. But I know that I'm asking too much, but I'm just saying that is what actual buildcrafting is. In an RPG game, you're farming for percentages, for damage multipliers. But we have absolutely no way to increase super damage other than an exotic. But what I'm saying to you is, we should be able to enhance fragments with some sort of endgame material to enhance T-Crash's damage without the use of an exotic. Therefore, the build crafting would be that you don't need to use Curse of the Fallen Star, because you could use Heart of Inmost Light and have a build for super damage that's built into your fragment kit. That is an extra layer on top of what we've already got right now. That would send build crafting where I, as a player, would invest into it fully. Because right now, all I'm doing is equipping stuff. And that's true on Prismatic. I'm looking, fragments, equipping it, that's it. And using an exotic to pair it with it. If you think pairing an exotic with a class is build crafting, I don't know what to think anymore, because I don't think that is build crafting. I think that's equipping something, isn't it? That's two different things. Right? That's what I think. But you a lot think it's build crafting, so you the viewer are important, so it's build crafting then. But I'm just saying, I think we can improve it. I think they can go a step further with it. So this phase isn't too bad at all. Once we get the Thresher killed, we got a good debuff off there, taking all the gladiators. We're looking at ammo, which we have plenty of. We need 20 missiles. We need to kill this VIP. Once we kill VIP, we can then clear the next ad wave, which we need to kill before we dunk. We can't really do it. We can go invis, but only for 5 seconds, and it's not long enough for the dunk. I could have run a fragment to get a longer invis. In hindsight, wouldn't have been a bad thing. But then I would have had to hurt my build a bit. You know, I would have had to take off something that I maybe didn't want to, like lingering Vortex Grenade. I want my Vortex Grenade to last long. I don't want it to last short. Why? I'm using Controver Assault. So I could have done it where I go invis and then dunk the orb, but I would hurt my build as a result. You know, I could have doubled up the time of it, and, you know, and all that stuff. We get a good nade down here to clear the Centurions. One of them's a Shock of Bane. That's fine. take down the shock bane. That's good. The target is the VIP is respawned. That's okay because he's concerned with the other allies. We can just melt him down. This is what's so strong about Grand Overture. We've got so much ammo to do all of this. You know, we can literally, even if I had 0 ammo right now, I would still be able to do it. Because my strat is simple, just to debuff boss, if possible, 20 missiles, then super with Nova Warp. That will one cycle the boss at the end. We don't need to kill turrets. And Nova Warp's damage is far more. It's more than enough to do the job, which is surprising. But it is. You'll see the damage. So we dunk orb. The boss is super aggroed on me there. I don't know what the hell's going on. That sometimes happens. We get our volley ready. I want to debuff the boss. I think we miss our debuff, which is... I think we get him. So we do... He is debuff right now. We'll see if we get yellow numbers. But the debuff might have worn off anyways. But we do our missiles. Then we'll do a couple more shots. Then pop super. And that will kill him outright. That was a solo GM on this with a VOD Walker. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.